Hi there, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm back again with more Lord of the Rings deck techs on MTGO. Please, if you have not been here before, hit the subscribe button, help me out with that. Get ready to hit the like button, and as I always say, if you don't like the video and you hit the dislike button, please leave me a comment and tell me what I did wrong. Anyway, I decided to look at some of the more off-the-wall commanders this week. There's been a lot of coverage about some of them, not so much about others of them, and I decided to kick off today. Well, you know what the video is today. It's Samwise Gamgee. Green and white for a 2/2 legendary creature, halfling peasant. And whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you get a food token. And then you can sack 3 food tokens to return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand. If you don't remember what historic cards are, there's there on the screen for you, Artifacts, Legendaries and Sagas. So, what am I trying to do? Well, it's very simple. Samwise Gamgee is basically a life gain deck. And that's really I've gone down the road with today. So, oops, here's the deck itself. As usual, start with my mana base. Green and blue white lands. So I keep saying blue today. I have no idea why. Green and white lands all the way through. I've got both castles in back in the day from Throne of Eldraine. Mainly because this one produces humans, and this does help us get some of our bigger stuff on the go when we get there, if we need to. Gavany Township's here, worth pointing that out as well. And Minas Tirith makes an appearance for the first time in one of my decks. We should be attacking with a couple of creatures, so we should be able to get there quite happily. Beyond that, usual selection: Reliquary Tower, Temple of the False God. Everything else is here. I did leave out some of the more expensive blue, white, green, white lands I own, mainly because I'm trying to keep the price down a little bit, because I have got some expensive cards in here, so I'll point them out as we go along. So, 1-drops. We're going down the life gain side of things. Oh, rest of the ramp, sorry. Soul Rings here, Arcane Signet, Mindstone, Talisman of Unity, and Relic of Legends. So we've got quite a few legends in this deck, and this might help us get some extra mana on the go at some stage. I would class Golden Egg maybe as mana gain, but it's more there for the card draw ability, hence why I haven't mentioned it until just now. Right then, so 1-drops. As I said, going down the life gain side of things. So Cleric class is a given in this deck. Again, as I always say with Cleric class, we want to get it to level 2 as soon as possible, and then leave the level 3 sitting there in case we need to bring something back from the graveyard. So bear that in mind, but get it to level 2 as quickly as we can, just so we can start chucking around some +1/+1 counters and making our creatures big. Path to Exile, just to destroy something that's annoying us. No other reason for it. Then we've got some of the life gain guys. We've got Soul Warden, Soul's Attendant, and Essence Warden are all here, making a little bit of life as creatures enter the battlefield. Birds of Paradise to help with the mana side of ramping side of things, along with Gilded Ghosts. Gilded Goose serves a second purpose, because we do need food tokens for Samwise, so once we can get the food on the go, we can use Gilded Ghost to keep repeating that food, which is nice. And then Elixir of Immortality. We haven't got a massive amount of big old win conditions in here, so we do need some way of either get put in our graveyard, getting them back out of our graveyard into our library, and Elixir of Immortality also helps with the life gain side of things, but does give us that option to shuffle everything around. First of the life gain payoffs, Ajani's Pridemate. Might as well have it in here. Gain life, makes it bigger. Makes perfect sense to me. Flowering of the White Tree is rapidly becoming one of my favourite enchantments kicking around. Yes, it's legendary, so you can only have one in play, but you know, giving your legendary creatures +2/+1 and ward, and then basically doing the old Crusade ability on the back of it, yeah, I can cope with that for 2 white mana in a deck. Lost to Legends, a new one coming through, a bit of an instant one to return as target non-land historic permanent into an owner's library, so gives you a way to get around those annoying commanders that might be about to kill you, or if there's a saga about to trigger that's going to wreck your board, you can just get rid of it and tuck it away for a few turns. Voice of the Blessed is the next of the life gain payoffs. We might as well put this on and get this up to flying. If we can make it to 10 +1/+1 counters and indestructible, all the better for us. Heroic Intervention, yep, protect the board. Rampant Growth and Nature's Law, get them in the right order, just to go thin our deck out a little bit. Trader Crumbs gives us food when it comes into play, and then when we can sacrifice the food, we can pay an additional 1. Look at the top 2 cards, put a permanent into our hand, and put the rest on the bottom of any library, so we get through our deck pretty quickly with Trader Crumbs. I think I've covered the rest of this. Yep, okay. 3-drops. East Farthing Farmer. Enters the battlefield, create a food token, and when you do, target creature you control gets +1/+1 to the end of the turn for each food you control. We have some very good way of doing this, which I'll come to in a minute. Heliod's here. Heliod's, there you go. Gain life, put some +1/+1 counters around. Sounds like a plan to me. Also the lifelink side. Lauren, just to blow up things that are annoying us and draw some cards if we need to. Path of Bravery, because we should be able to keep our life total above 40 with this deck quite happily. And that means we can pump all our creatures up a little bit more, because they are quite small on the whole. Rosie, Cotton of South Lane. Yep, comes into play, get a food token, and whenever you create a token, put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control other than Rosie. Rosie probably does die quite quickly because of the amount of tokens we're playing, but it's worth having her in just to try and get the +1/+1 counters where we can. Second breakfast was just a bit of a laugh more than anything else. 2 target creatures get +2/+1 until the end of the turn and get a food token, because, you know, halflings do like their second breakfast, as we all know. Teferi's Protection protects a board. Brandywine Farmer gives us a food token when it enters or dies. Fey Offering gives us a clue, a food, and a treasure if we've cast a creature or non-creature spell, which we can do. We've got a fairly even split, 33 creatures, 30 other spells, so we should be able to get there when we hit it. Growing Rights, because why wouldn't you in this deck? It's one of the cards you can drop out if you want to. It's getting a little bit pricey again though, so you can drop this out and just play an additional land if you wish to, but I've played my Growing Rights, so it's here. Peregrine Took comes in. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, those tokens plus an additional food token are created, so it does get quite fun quite quickly. Rex Sage, just to deal with anything that's annoying us. Tireless Provisioner, because we might also have some landfall to get some food tokens on the go as well. Plus, landfall gives us treasure tokens, which may help us cast some of our hard to cast stuff. Wood Elves, you all know what it does. Merry Warden of Isengard, and obviously Pippin's not in the deck. Pippin's the wrong colours. But whenever one or more artifacts enter the battlefield under your control, create a 1/1 white soldier creature token with lifelink. This ability triggers only once each turn. That's fine, but it's a 1/4 and it's quite hard to block. The other version of Sam is in here. Sam, Loyal Attendant. Again, Frodo's not here. Wrong colour pairing. And at the beginning of your combat on your turn, create a food token. And activated abilities of foods you control cost 1 less to activate, which is nice. So instead of paying 2 to gain 3 life, we can pay 1. And some of the payoffs we get could be quite useful. And Academy Manufacturer. I'm playing a food token deck. Come on. It was bound to be in the deck somewhere. And it makes perfect sense to have this here today. Anointed Procession and Parallel Lives are both here just to double up on all the tokens we're making. Might as well have them in. We need the extra food. We can have extra treasures. We can have extra clue tokens if we've got the manufacturer out. It all makes sense. Bill the Pony comes in the battlefield, gives us a couple more foods, and then we can sacrifice a food and target creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Not so much that, but I like Bill the Pony, and I like the fact she gives us 2 food tokens. The second half can be useful occasionally, I suppose, especially if we've been hit with something that's given us -X, -0 on our creature's power. So, yeah, okay, cope with that plan. Smothering Tide, you all know what that does. Amelia, but Smothering Tide obviously is another card that can come out if you want to drop the cost of the deck a bit. Amelia the Blessed is also here. Excuse me. Nice little flicker effect with this one because of the 3 exile another target creature and bounce it back in. Yes, yeah. It does help us with things like Samwise or Bill the Pony if we want to. Not Samwise, sorry. Bill the Pony is what I meant. And it has that little effect of pumping up our creatures when they come back into play. So, you know, extra mana. Yeah, 4 mana, flicker something, get it back into play with a +1/+1 counter on it. Not the worst idea in the world. Wrath of God just to help us control the board a little bit. And Assemble the Entmoot. Now, I forgot this card existed in the Lord of the Rings Commander set, and it's actually quite good in this deck. We can sacrifice, if we get a point where we gain a whole load of life, and then we can sacrifice this. If we've got even one of these 2 in play, that's a lot of big tree folk that suddenly appear from nowhere. So, yeah, it's appeared for this deck. Fierce Witch Stalker, just because we've got 4/4 with Trample, that gets us a food token when it comes into play. Butterberry Bree Innkeeper's also here at the beginning of your end step. If you don't control a food token, create a food token. Just a nice way to make sure we've got food coming into play if we need it. Lathiel, the Bantier Storm. Lifelink. At the beginning of each end step, if you gained life this turn, distribute up to that many +1/+1 counters among any number of other target creatures. Yeah, a lot of life gaining, a lot of +1/+1 counters being kicked around. Notice I haven't gone down the +1/+1 counter route in this deck. I could have put in some of the other cards, for example, Hardened Scales could have been in the deck, but it seemed a bit of a overkill. We're trying to keep it to the food side of it, but if you want to go down that route, you know, Hardened Scales and all its equivalents make perfect sense in here. Treebeard comes in for this deck. Yes, last week's deck featuring Treebeard was purely Treefolk Tribal, but yeah, we like Treefolk, and this gives another way of putting some +1/+1 counters around. Panharmonicon to double up the triggers, and Aetherflux Reservoir. I've replayed it because I think we're going to be gaining a lot of life with this deck. Well, I know we gain a lot of life with this deck when I've test played it. And it seemed like I needed some way of doing it. I was quite often sitting on 70, 80 life and really couldn't close the game out. But Aetherflux Reservoir gives me the ability to do that, especially if I can keep repeating the food growth. So I decided to add in Aetherflux Reservoir. And to help me out with that, I've also chucked in Boon Reflection, just to double up on the life gain we get. Yes, it's 5 mana. Yes, it's going to come down late. Yes, it doesn't have an impact on the board when it first comes into play. However, if you can play this and you've still got some mana floating around, plus a couple of food tokens, each food token then produces 6 life, and that really does save you really quickly, and it helps you build up the stuff for Aetherflux Reservoir even quicker. Gwahane, the greatest of the Eagles, is also here. And at the beginning of each end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, which we should do between Cleric class of Wardens, Boon Reflection, so on and so forth, we get a 3/3 white bird creature token with flying that has the ability to give something else flying when it attacks. So this is basically one of the key cards we've got that we're going to try and win with. Angelic Chorus is also here just to help Boon Reflection do the whole Aetherflux Reservoir side of things. The creatures aren't big, but we do get some life of them, so I can cope with that plan. Archangel Athune, gain life, put some +1/+1 counters on each creature we control. Thank you very much, happy with that. And Motivated Pony. Whenever it attacks, attacking creatures get +1/+1 until the end of turn. If a food enters the battlefield under your control this turn, untap those creatures and they get an additional +2/+2 until the end of turn. Yeah, okay then. Gladriel, Gift Giver. Enters the battlefield or attacks, we get food token or some +1/+1 counters or treasure token. Gladriel's one of our hopeful ways we'll get through everyone else. Nykthos Paragon, another way of putting some +1/+1 counters on things when we gain life, hence why it's here today. Generous Ent and Orchard Strider are purely here for the land cycling abilities. Forest cycling off Generous Ent and the basic land cycling. Now, if we get up to 6 mana, we need some beaters. Yes, we can play them. That's fine. Got no issue with that because they both produce food tokens. But at the end of the day, they're probably here to fix our mana early in the game. So we're only playing 36 lands, so hopefully we can use them to fix it. And then finally, I had 1 slot left. It's a green-white deck. The Great Henge. Life, gain, mana, card draw. Yeah, okay, let's do that then. But that's it. That is my take on Samwise as a pure life gain deck. Like I say, you can manipulate it even more and go down the +1/+1 counter route as well, using the foods, but I want to try and keep the food thing going. And with the food tokens that Samwise should hopefully give us, being able to return those historic cards from our graveyard to our hand when we need them seems like a really good plan to me. But thank you for watching the video up to here. I am trying to get up to 500 subscribers now, so please, if you can, hit the subscribe button here on YouTube. I'd really appreciate it. Leave me a comment. I do try and respond to all the comments when I see them come through. So, if you think I've missed something out, I'll quite happily have a conversation with you in the comment section. But that's it for now. I hope you come back tomorrow and watch tomorrow's video. Take care. See you soon. Bye.